Hi, everyone. Of course, we start with a technical glitch. I was unmuted. Welcome to Women in Tech for Harris virtual kickoff event. My name is Jen Spencer. I'm honored to be your MC for today's program. We have an incredible lineup of speakers all here to inspire and energize us as we work together to make a meaningful impact in this election. So to officially start our event, we are truly honored to have with us a dedicated public servant and advocate for democracy. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Adam Schiff.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of you for being a part of this and helping support Kamala Harris in this most essential of elections. I know that we say every election is the most important, but that doesn't make it any less true. It just means that they become sequentially more and more important. And in this election, we have the choice of an incredible powerhouse in Kamala Harris, someone who understands the importance of technology and STEM education and broadband access, equal pay for equal work, and someone who will be a tremendous president of the United States, moving our country into a bright new future. And at the same time, we also see the risks in this election. This election is going to be close any way you slice it, and nothing less than our democracy is on the line. I think this comes as kind of a rude shock to all of us who grew up in the post-World War II generation, that our democracy would prove to be so fragile. But the reality is, after living in a world that was ever expanding in its freedoms, when we saw new democracies being born and walls coming down, people's rights and freedoms expanding, we have since seen an inflection point where instead of new democracies, we've seen new autocracies being born. Instead of seeing our freedoms expand, we've seen them contract, including the right to reproductive freedom. And so we find ourselves at a real hinge in history that will be decided in just over 40 days, which direction the country will move in, which direction the world will move in. And it just could not be more important that we do everything possible to make sure that Vice President Harris becomes President Harris. And so thank you for joining the Zoom today. There is a donate button that I'm sure will be exhibited throughout the Zoom, and please hit it as much as you can, hit it until it hurts. We need to make sure that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have the resources they need to deal with the onslaught of negative attack ads that are already on the air in these critical battleground states. So look, things are going well. I'd rather be where we are than where they are. We have the momentum and we are ahead in key battleground states. But the most important part of this campaign will be the last few days of get out the vote efforts. And what you contribute today will help in those vital field operations that are turning out every eligible voter in these battleground states. So thank you for your support. Thank you for the incredible contributions you are making to our economy.
Well, thank you, Jen. Thank you, Congressman Schiff. I'm Virginia McGregor, and I'm treasurer of the Democratic National Committee and the national co-chair of Women for Harris. So I know we have a packed schedule today, so I want to get right into what I'll be talking about: the how, the why, and the what of political fundraising. How I got involved in political fundraising was when Hillary Clinton ran for president. She inspired me, she motivated me, and she made it clear why this work mattered. How we get started is important, but the why we do this work is what keeps us going. And that's personal to all of us. For me, my why is my 6 children and my 4 grandchildren, and especially my 4 daughters. In 2016, we knew what a threat Trump would be to our democracy and to our future. And all of us remember the dark days after his election. I was devastated by Hillary's loss, but instead of backing down, I doubled down. I thought of my why, and that gave me strength and motivation. So I continued to organize and fundraise. I got involved with the Democratic National Committee and then became a national finance co-chair. I fundraised for Joe Biden's run for president. And after President Biden took office, I was honored when he appointed me treasurer of the DNC. In that role, and now as co-chair of Women for Harris, I have seen firsthand how much the money we raise matters. Fundraising is the most effective way to make an impact on the outcome of this election. And as a longtime fundraiser, I will tell you this: the first 20,000 that you have to raise is always the hardest. But find your footing. Make sure to tell people how their donations will make a difference. Now to the what. What kind of money are we raising and what are we doing with it? You have seen and read that we are outraising the Republicans. More than $615 million have been raised since Vice President Harris announced her run for president. And that's important because we only had about 100 days from that announcement to Election Day to run a full-scale presidential campaign. Millions of people are making donations, and 2/3 of those donations have come from first-time donors. 95% of our donations were $200 or less, and 60% of all those donors are women. You are probably thinking, with those numbers, why do I need to raise and give? Because we are the underdogs. This is a very close race, and the money that we raise goes to electing Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, but it also goes to the down ballot races, the United States Senate, the United States Congress, state legislatures, mayoral races, and more. The DNC's mission is to help Democrats win every seat from the White House to the school board. So if you're in New York or California, the money that you goes is to where we need it and the races that we need to win across the country, especially in the battleground states. And in this final stretch, our operational strength matters more than ever. We are directing these funds towards a relentless battleground operation. We have opened more than 312 coordinated campaign offices. We have 2,100 coordinated staff in the states and a much bigger footprint than the Trump campaign. And we recently announced a landmark $370 million investment in digital and television advertising between Labor Day and Election Day. These election efforts will take all of us. So I'm asking every person on this call to make a donation in support of the Harris-Walz ticket. And if you've already done it, consider doing it again. Give anything you can, $50, $500, $5,000, or max out, because every dollar counts. You know, our party is united around electing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as our next president and vice president. And Democratic women are leading the way. We are working together like never before. There is no division. There are no sides to choose from. We are one team, one fight. And there is no denying that this is a movement and you are all a part of it. And years from now, when we look back on this moment, we will be able to say that we saved our democracy. So I look forward to continuing work with this group for the next 40 days and beyond. And remember to donate, and let's keep the momentum going. Thanks for all the work you do. And Fiona, I'll hand it back to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Virginia. Hi, everyone. My name is Fiona Simpson. I am the fundraising chair for Women in Tech for Harris, and I am so inspired by Virginia. I've had the pleasure to speak with her all throughout the lead up to this event, and we are so excited to be contributing across the country to races in every single state. I live in Georgia, so this is a big deal to me. And so I just want to give you all some really exciting news about fundraising. We have a $100,000 match thanks to Asim Daher. You might have seen him last night if you watched the Geeks and Nerds. And so in order to meet that match, we need about $60,000 on today's call. We have already raised as a group over $40,000, and we want to max out that generous contribution from Wasim. So get your Sky Miles card out, get your Amex, whatever you need to do. We would love to have your donations go extra far today by donating and getting matched thanks to our generous donation. I will be popping in throughout the call to give us an update I might be shouting people out in the chat. So go ahead and get those donations in. And we are so grateful that you're here. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Greenwood, one of the volunteers for Women in Tech for Harris. I want to tell you a little story. I wake up one morning about 5 weeks ago with a DM from Alina Vandenberg in my inbox. And let me tell you, I'm feeling very special that I've got a DM from Alina. And she said, do you want to do this Women in Tech for Harris thing with me? And I'm like, well, sure. I'll do whatever this thing is you want. And so maybe 2 days later on a Saturday, 5 of us gather on a Zoom call to decide, can we pull something together? And we just decided that, yeah, we could do something. So we all made some posts. And then all of a sudden, we asked for volunteers. And we had 150 volunteers. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure we had any idea of what to do with them. But what we did know is that we were going to be a grassroots organization. We were going to be a horizontal structure so that people could raise their hand and donate their time and talent in the area of their expertise, in their zone of genius. I would like to do a quick shout out of the social team because I swear they built a marketing plan that could run a Fortune 500 company. And in 2 days, we had thousands of followers. So I don't know how they did that, but they were amazing. So Saturday calls, slacking each other on nights and weekends, that has brought us all here today. Fun fact, 99% of us have never been politically active in this way before. We are not people that are doing the grassroots thing. So this is our first time. And so we're so pleased to have you with us today. And we hope to share this event, which will go great and won't have too many glitches. But, many of us here are from early stage startups. So, if we do land on a glitch, which we already have, we are so good at rolling on the fly, we will just keep rolling. The last thing I want to mention is the power of community. The way that we were able to bring together such an amazing, talented group so quickly is because of our networks and our communities, and the networks and communities of our volunteers. What we built, and I'm getting chills, 5 short weeks is not just an event. It is a community of friends, colleagues, and supporters, which many of them will stay in touch with for years to come. I already have a group of Dallas friends that we've already met for lunch, etc. So if everyone could please give a virtual round of applause to all of our volunteers that make this event happen that you may not see today, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the event.
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and move in to our next speaker, Alina Vandenberg. Alina, one of our co-chairs, is also a speaker today. And she is a leader who is really harnessing the power of technology to drive political change. And she's a trailblazer in tech. She serves as the co-founder and CEO of Chili Piper, which is a demand conversion platform that has really taken the industry by storm. Under her leadership, Chili Piper has reached a valuation nearing $1 billion. And it's trusted by top companies like Verizon, Monday.com, and Hootsuite. But Alina is here with us today, not only as a successful entrepreneur, but as a passionate advocate for electing the first female president in the United States. Please join me in welcoming Alina Vandenberg.
Hello, everyone. Today I'm joining from Philadelphia. You might recognize the gray behind me. I believe that Philadelphia is a critical state, and even though I live in New York and in Brooklyn, I'll do anything that I can that is in my power to help at least one vote. I'm a bit emotional today because I can't believe what our volunteers have managed to pull in such a short period of time. So I have my story written down. That's why you'll see me reading my story. I felt like I would have too many goosebumps during this time to remember them all. So I'll just read to you my story. I was 6 years old. I was staring out of the window of our tiny apartment in a communist building in Romania. The buildings all looked the same, gray, somewhat the same as in Philadelphia. They were cold and suffocating. And my world, as small as it was, seemed to end at that window. One afternoon, my neighbor, her name was Visa, came by with her usual warm smile and something special in her hands. It was a brown teddy bear. She didn't have kids of her own. She was a childless cat lady. So she often brought me things that I could only dream of. This teddy was no different. It became my treasure, my only toy. Visa traveled a lot as a government translator, and sometimes she would even bring me chocolate. And for a child like me, who didn't have much, that chocolate tasted like love. However, that night, everything changed for me. Another neighbor knocked at our door just as the sun had set. He would come often to our dinner, so it was not unusual. My mom set the table, poured some țuica, some Romanian alcoholic drink, and they started chatting. At first, it was the usual talk, nothing out of the ordinary. I stayed under the table, clutching my teddy like I always did. But then the mood shifted. He started to talk about his work, about how he silenced people. He said it calmly, almost as if he were discussing the weather. He talked about suffocating people in their sleep because they dared to speak against the government. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I knew our apartment was bugged. My mom had warned me, but I did not understand the gravity of it until that moment. And I froze. My grip tightened around my teddy, and I stopped breathing for what felt like an eternity. That's when I decided it was safer to stay quiet, no matter what I thought. The price for speaking up wasn't just silence, it was survival for me. Years later, I got my final confirmation as my neighbor, Visa, the woman who gave me the chocolate and the teddy bear, was poisoned by that very same man. The man who had sat at our dinner table, eating my mother's food, drinking the țuica, while calmly recounted how he'd taken lives. When I came to America, I felt like I landed on another planet. People here, people everywhere just spoke. They said whatever was in their minds. No fear, no consequences. For 17 years, I had built a life here. Like Amanda, I am a mother as well, and a business owner. I have what some might traditionally define as a successful business, and a sense of safety. I thought I'd finally found home. But on January 6th, I watched in horror as crowds stormed the Capitol, fueled by violence, instigated by immense hunger for power. It all felt too familiar. It was the same movie, just with different actors. And then I realized I had been quiet again for too long. But I won't be anymore. I don't want to live in the shadows, scared to speak. I want to live in a future where women are seen, when all of us are represented, a future where we make history by electing our first woman president. Join me in that fight.
Thank you, Alina. Wow, I'm definitely not the only one here with tears and goosebumps. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I want to make sure that we all have a chance just to kind of collect ourselves. And I've been watching the chat going through online, and people are really moved by your messages. Thank you so much, Alina. Thank you for helping put this event together, for leading us, and for being so authentic and so honest with us. We really appreciate it.
One ask is from all of you in the chat. I would really love to hear your stories as well, the volunteers, those that have joined the call. What has motivated you to join the Harris campaign? It helps me a lot to know that I'm not alone in this journey. And I love to read your stories. And if you have questions for me, I'll be here for the next 1 hour and a half in the comments, and I'll respond as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alina. Our next speaker is Noelle Russell. Noelle is a multi-award-winning technologist and AI strategist. She has led teams at some of the biggest names in tech, including AWS, Amazon Alexa, Microsoft, and IBM. And as a futurist and expert in AI, data, and cloud technologies, she specializes in helping companies achieve significant returns on responsible AI initiatives. Noelle is also a champion for AI literacy, and she's the founder of the I Heart AI community, teaching responsible AI for everyone. Please welcome Noelle Russell.
Hey everyone, what's up? Good to see you all. Oh my gosh, that was so touching. I'm like, I can't be crying right before my thing. So I tried to pull it together. What an incredible collection of people who have been speaking so far today. Hi, everyone. Of course, I'm Noelle. Thanks for that wonderful and warm introduction. Thank you also to the amazing and incredible work that's done by our ASL interpreters, making the world more accessible for everyone. So thank you for that. I always like to start my time with you by just letting you know a little bit about who I am. If you don't know who I am, I encourage us to be friends. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can Google Noelle and AI, and it'll just come right up for you. But my journey really started, I guess maybe I'm shocked to find out I am not the only one with 6 children. So that was amazing. Another family-oriented thing that I was like, we are family. So I have 6 kiddos, but my very first child was born with Down syndrome. And I remember way back then, they were telling me, this is now 19 years ago, that I didn't really need to keep him, that I could just put him in an institution, and really that the world wasn't ready for a kid like that. And of course, as a Latina, my first inclination was like, my abuela would have hit me with a shoe if I didn't come home with my baby. But number 2, that, oh my gosh, I'm a technologist at heart, and I knew the power technology had because I suffered through the first time the world was going to end, Y2K, if some of you remember. So I knew this technology could not only change the world, but it could save the world. And so since then, I've done incredible things. I became employee 10 on Amazon Alexa. I built tons of applications. And what I want to share with you today is that my journey through corporate America has been, I don't know, let's say wrought with challenges. And I realized that I'm not alone in that. And the only way I found out I wasn't alone in that was that I actually started telling my story. And when I first was introduced to Kamala Harris was actually in the White House a few years ago. We were talking about, of course, you all remember, right, when AI became this big thing and they needed to write an executive order. And so I got an opportunity to really see, and I echo what has already been said about her keen interest, and this is the most important, and core value-driven approach to how we leverage technology to improve the world. Now, I'll share with you the reason that I wanted to speak. I was invited to speak, of course, and I immediately was like, yes. And then I was like, but what am I going to talk about? And they let us know that each one of us was invited to share kind of what about the Harris campaign, what about Kamala specifically, what touched us, what caused us to realize that now was a time to speak out, that now was the time to communicate to everyone. I've never talked about my political leanings at all. It's polarizing. And I actually think what I say shouldn't matter at all who I'm voting for. So I tend to shy away from that. But I took this opportunity, and it was extremely hard for me to do because I was like, I have social following. I have CEOs. I mean, I appreciate the executives that have already spoken on the stage talking about there's an inclination. Of course, if you care about money, you know where you're going to vote. And I was like, I care about money and I know where I'm going to vote. And the reason the idea that came to me when I was asked to speak about what I loved about this campaign is the future of entrepreneurship. We've already seen an incredible entrepreneur talk to us, but the future of entrepreneurship, this presidency is going to open up the doors for anyone who wants this journey. And for those of us who've been in corporate America a long time, I'm just telling you from my personal experience, I do not want to work twice as hard to be seen as just as good, or even to just be seen at all. And I don't work twice as hard. I work 10 times as hard. At Alexa, when I first went there, I was the only woman on the team, the only Latina on the team, but I was also the only parent on the team. I was the only caregiver on the team. I think I might have been the only cat owner on the team. Like, yes, oh my gosh, and I'm a cat owner. Like, I love you all. But I ended up asking, like, hey, I want to build different things. I want to build applications for Alexa that are not about working out or even about being in the kitchen. I want to build applications about self-worth and mindfulness and kindness and how to have good relationships. And they told me it wouldn't work out, that it wasn't a really great idea. No one wanted mindfulness in the kitchen. And I just kind of laughed and I built it anyway. And this has become a theme in my career. But now I realize the power of us maybe saying to someone, oh no, like they tell us you can't do that. You're not smart enough for that. You don't have a background in that. Whatever the nonsense is, they decide. If we are not super strong in what we know about ourselves, we might just believe them at the very same moment that we actually need to believe in us. And that is what entrepreneurship is all about. So my vision is that we all think really hard about whether our best kept skills and powers are useful in an organization where maybe they ask you. I can't tell you how many companies have hired me and said, we want all of you, Noelle, only to and some of you can chime in if this has happened to you, but over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years, I get put in smaller and smaller boxes. And they're like, Noelle, we love all of you. If you could just do it in this little corner over here and not really be so loud. And now with the beauty of entrepreneurship, like, you can be not only loud, you can actually serve the very people who need you, and you can't serve if you're put in a small box in a big company. So I want to encourage you to just think differently about your future, think differently. And I know that this presidency is going to give us a different future. It's going to, just like when I get on stage and a young Noelle looks at me and goes, I didn't know I could be an executive of a company. I didn't know I could build a 7-figure company and hire other people like me. I didn't know that was even an option, because all I saw was people who didn't look like me. Those girls now see us here. Our job in the next 4 years, but certainly in the next 50 days, is to ensure that we become the example, that we're not too shy to stand up and say what we care about, say what we stand for. And most importantly, put our money where our mouth is. I'm a big believer in these campaigns. I tried to click the QR code and add more, but I've added $1,000 to this campaign. I am a huge believer that whatever you can do, it's not about the amount. It's about the intention. It's about being willing to put yourself out there, to be uncomfortable, and to do something about your life and your career. What's up, my friends? I'm so excited and happy to be here with you. I want to make sure there's time for everyone to be on the stage and inspire you, but please don't hesitate to reach out. Very easy to find me. You can go to Noelle.AI on any browser, and you can find me there. We have an amazing, beautiful community. Many of them are here with us today, learning AI and learning how we can build our own companies with artificial intelligence. You don't need to, I always say, I actually wrote it down, VC is a bust. As women, finding VC funding is hard, but as women with a female president, it actually isn't about VC funding. It's about finding our own way. It's about building products people love, and it's about getting customers to fund our dreams. So I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much to the amazing team that did this incredible, incredible event. And thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Noelle. And I hope everyone's as inspired and motivated as I am. We've got the $100,000 match. So for every dollar that you're able to donate, we have a donor who's adding another dollar. So that number is double the size of whatever you can give, whether it's $47 for our 47th president, or it's a number that is meaningful to you. But next up, we've got Nicole Perlroth. She is a New York Times bestselling author and leading voice in cybersecurity. Her book, This Is How They Tell Me the World Ends, delves into the high-stakes cyber arms race. Nicole is also an advisor to the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and serves as managing partner at Silver Buckshot Ventures. And having led cybersecurity coverage for the New York Times for over a decade, she continues to be a pivotal figure in shaping the national conversation around cybersecurity. Let's give a warm welcome to Nicole Perlroth.
Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be with you today. It's just been an honor to be here with all of these amazing speakers and to hear such personal stories. I'm quite emotional at the moment just hearing you all speak. I was asked to speak to my why, and it's a pretty broad range, and it might be different than a lot of other people on this call. I mean, there are the obvious whys for me. I am a woman. I have a 1-year-old daughter who was born via IVF. It was a journey to get her. I had miscarriages. I had to have DNCs, and reading these stories about people in states like Texas and Missouri that can't get a DNC and are losing the right to reproduce, the ability to reproduce because they can't get basic miscarriage care is horrifying. The other why is I don't like dropping my son, my 6-year-old, off at school, memorizing his outfit every day in the event someone brings an AR to school. I would like us to do something about gun safety, and I believe Kamala Harris is the candidate to do that and to keep, hopefully, pushing sane gun background checks and safety checks into policy. But I also want to just speak about something that the other speakers haven't touched on and is very specific to my world, and that is cybersecurity. So as Jen mentioned, I spent a decade as the lead cybersecurity reporter at the New York Times. I wrote a book about it. I finally decided to leave journalism to see if I could go do something about it. And for the last 3 years, I've been an advisor to CISA, which is the Department of Homeland Security's cybersecurity agency. And I can tell you firsthand that the Biden-Harris administration has done more on cybersecurity than any previous administration combined. It really has been eye-opening to see just how much they've been able to do without any real ham-fisted regulation. They've just, without any real authorities even, have pulled the private sector in and created real incentives for the private sector, which owns 80% of the critical infrastructure in this company, critical infrastructure that's getting hit every single day with cyber attacks, not just from cyber criminals, but from Russian state-sponsored groups and more recently Chinese state-sponsored groups to help them get those hackers out of their systems. They've brought the discovery and remediation time down from weeks, months, even years in some cases to find these hackers down to days, in some cases minutes. And none of this has gotten any coverage, real media coverage, which is insane as someone who is a journalist. But it's something that I've been talking a lot about because cybersecurity is the new front line. And the fact that this administration has done so much on here, I would hate for that to go away. And if you look at Project 2025 and you see what their plans are for cybersecurity, one of the line items is to basically get rid of our cybersecurity agency, to effectively move it under the Department of Transportation. And it's worth reminding everyone that what did Trump do in office for cybersecurity? He fired the White House cybersecurity coordinator. They actually just got rid of the position. And then he fired by tweet the guy who led the agency because he was upset that the director said that 2020 was the most secure election in history. So it's not something that gets talked a lot about in this election, but I think it's worth flagging. And then finally, I just want to say, as a journalist at the New York Times, I was actually singled out by Trump for what he called treason. I had written a story with a colleague of mine, David Sanger, about what some Russian hacker groups were doing here, what we were doing in Russia. And Trump tweeted out that it was a virtual act of treason. And what was interesting was that A.G. Sulzberger, who was the publisher at the time, actually responded to that tweet. He wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, and he told a story that I think is worth reminding people of today. He said that as the publisher at the New York Times regularly gets these calls from diplomats at the U.S. embassies all over the world saying, we have a problem. We're going to have to basically get this journalist or this American citizen out of here. There are threats here, and we can help you. And AG told a story about how in Egypt, there was a situation where a colleague of ours who had written a series of stories about what some Egyptian police had done. It was a very negative story for the Egyptian government. We got a call from the U.S. embassy, and the person on the phone was not authorized to make the call. And he said that basically he had advance warning, that the administration had advance warning that the Egyptian police were going to pick up our reporter Declan. And usually when that happens, the U.S. embassy works to get that reporter out of the country, and with the help of the New York Times, et cetera. But in this case, what was really troubling was that the diplomat said, you need to call the Irish embassy because I know your journalist is a dual Irish-American citizen, and the Trump administration has basically told the Egyptian police that they're welcome to just pick him up. And that had never happened before. Essentially, our own government was throwing a journalist under the bus and saying that another government could pick him up and jail him and wasn't going to do anything about it. So in the end, the New York Times called the Irish embassy and they were able to get Declan out of Egypt safely. But that is just a horrifying story. When you think about democracy and how critical it is to have freedom of the press, the fact that our own administration is willing to call journalists the enemy of the people, single them out with a word like treason, and not help them get out of danger's way should be a warning call to all of us. And my sense is that if Trump is reelected, we will see so much worse on that front. So with that, I want to make sure we get to the other speakers, but my plea is really to not only talk about our first 1 through 10 whys, but how I think that the Harris administration hopefully will be really good on cybersecurity. And right now, that is one of the number one risks that businesses face. So if I could ask you to just flag a little bit about what I said today, I really mean it. They've seriously raised the bar on cybersecurity, and I'm really excited to see what the Harris administration will do next.
Hi, everyone. Fiona Simpson again. I am in awe. In 45 short minutes, we have raised over $12,000. $12,000 from donations on this call, plus our matching means that we've done almost $25,000 if we're rounding up, which we do. So please keep the donations rolling in. This is our chance to double every single dollar that comes in. Keep shouting yourself out in the chat, and I will keep highlighting you out throughout the call. And that is all from me. So we will carry on with the show.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Awesome. Awesome to hear. Keep those donations flowing. Our next speaker's journey is a testament to resilience and leadership. From refugee to revenue leader, Hang Black has built an impressive career as a multinational executive and keynote speaker on sales and leadership. She is also a passionate advocate for women in the workplace, and her Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Embrace Your Edge, Pave Your Own Way as an Immigrant Woman in the Workplace, has inspired countless professionals to overcome challenges and forge their own path. Please join me in welcoming Hang Black.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited and honored to be here. As mentioned, my name is Hang Black. I am not only a proud Vietnamese refugee, I'm a dedicated mother and unapologetically ambitious woman in high tech. Can I get a couple snaps from you out there in the audience? In this razor-thin election, I'm here to call all immigrants and descendants of immigrants, because we come in all colors of Black, brown, and beige, to refute the damaging narratives of division, because this great country is best when we leverage each other's strengths rather than tear each other apart. Almost 50 years ago, the end of the Vietnam War led to a mass exodus of over 130,000 Vietnamese to the United States for resettlement. Saigon fell April 30th, 1975. My family escaped one day before. On the roads, what this looked like were 2 parents, 8 children, and 2 soldiers who were the subordinates of my father in a car the size of a VW Bug. If you're counting, that's 12 of us. We rode around for hours, left my grandparents on the side of the road with a promise to come back to save them once we found safe harbor, a promise we broke a few hours later. Because in the waters, what that looked like was, if you were lucky enough to get onto a small boat, you would wait in the middle of the ocean for an aircraft carrier to come by, and then wait again for a wave to bring the small boat up to the lip of the aircraft carrier to bridge the 2 to 3 story gap to a 2 to 3 meter gap, at which point there was a single thick docking line and you'd have to catch and climb up. Well, I was a baby. I was not going to make it. So instead, a stranger told my mother, "Give me the baby. I will throw her." And so I was tossed from one stranger's hands into yet another stranger's hands by one chubby little hand. We were sponsored into the US by a couple of Lithuanians who were themselves immigrants. And once they made it, they didn't view themselves as the good immigrants and those behind them as the bad immigrants. They had generosity in their heart, and they viewed us with an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. Instead of looking at the short term, let's look at the longitudinal effects of immigration. 50 years later, all 8 children are engineers and scientists. I grew up in Louisiana and was loved by all races. But when I was 8 years old, I was cornered by 7 girls and threatened with physical harm. But not only did I get out just fine, in fact, I became friends with them. But my heart hurts for other young children who are getting bullied, and even the ones guilty of doing the bullying today, as we're witnessing in Springfield, Ohio. Division is caught, not taught. I choose hope over fear. I want to ask you to support us so that in this country, women can become executives, mothers, stepmothers, or choose not to be a mother and yet not be viewed as any less human. In this country, immigrants meaningfully contribute to society and the economy. We're not looking to take Black jobs or white jobs. We're actually looking to make jobs for others. So I call on you to act. Wait, I feel another moment here. Can we get a couple more snaps for that? I call on you to act, because we do not have the luxury to be complacent. Vote with your vote. Do not let the couch determine this country's future. Vote with your voice. Let's bring others to the polls. And vote with your wallet, because not only should we bridge the pay gap, we should bridge the donation gap. And if I have to pick between my dollars and my dignity, I choose dignity. Thank you all, and I really hope you join me in this movement.
Thank you so much, Hang. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for your vision and inspiration. We appreciate you. I am so honored to introduce our next speaker, Mary Shea, General Manager of Higher Quotient's North American business and a leader with over 25 years of experience in commercial and operational roles. Mary's career spans a pretty wide range of industries, including her time as a co-CEO of Mediafly and chief evangelist at Outreach, a sales execution unicorn. She's also served as a marketing professor at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, and she was a principal analyst at Forrester Research. Please join me in welcoming Mary Shea.
Well, thank you for that wonderful and warm welcome. And it's great kismet to be following my dear friend, Hang. I've heard her story many times, and every time I hear it, I'm inspired even just a little bit more. It's so wonderful to hear everyone's story and all the motivations for making sure that we put our country on the best and right path for the future. So as you know from my background, I'm a tech exec, and I'm a proud member of the LGBTQIA community. I've had a remarkable personal and professional journey full of many of the highs and lows that you would expect. On the professional front, I recently raised $50 million at a time when access to capital was nearly impossible to land. On the personal front, one of my happiest days was marrying my long-term partner, Waverly. This was in 2012. And we were in front of family and friends at a beautiful inn overlooking Cape Cod Bay in Provincetown, Massachusetts. Once we were married, we were legally married in Massachusetts, but not in our home state of Illinois. And naturally, that changed in following years. Some of you on this call know me for my years as a technology analyst, an evangelist, and also a futurist. I'm going to put on my futurist hat for a moment and share my vision for America after a Harris and Walz victory. I see an America where trans kids can get the medical care and support and other resources they need, where non-binary folks can show up as their authentic selves without fear, where LGBTQIA individuals who are small business owners don't face barriers for getting funding and other resources. And where, guess what? My marriage is just as legal as anyone other's. As I kind of wrap up my remarks, I want to encourage everyone on this call to pull out all the stops. We can't sit by the sidelines. We need to make our collective visions for America a reality. We've got 40 days or so, and I'm going to encourage everyone here, use your platform, knock on doors, make cold calls, encourage friends and family members to learn about the issues and to educate themselves. And if money's available to you, please donate. I know we've all been donating and there's a little bit of fatigue, but dig deeper if you're able to do so. I'm certainly going to do so right after I wrap up here. And finally, as we stand at this critical inflection point in American history, our actions over the next weeks and 40 days will not only shape the future of equality and opportunity for all communities, but they will define the very essence of our nation. One that truly values diversity, inclusion, and the right to live freely and authentically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you for your support. You've been such an amazing advocate of ours and a strong volunteer of Women in Tech for Harris. I am thrilled to announce our next speaker, Misa Sheen, an authentic leader known for her ability to inspire and connect through positivity and transparency. Now, Misa's charisma stems from a diverse communication background, including television appearances, speaking engagements at institutions like Harvard Business School, and even runway modeling for major brands. She is a serial entrepreneur, and she has achieved remarkable success, founding multiple companies that have reached 7 figures in revenue, a milestone achieved by less than 2% of female entrepreneurs. Her work has earned her recognition as one of LinkedIn's most viewed women with over 16 million views per month, and she's been featured in Forbes and Inc. magazine's 30 Under 30. Now, this October, MISA will be launching The Authentic Asian, a community focused on supporting AAPI female founders and executives. Let's give a warm welcome to MISA.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here today. I can't even say that I just never thought I'd be talking to this many people today. So it's so great to have you all. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an Asian American female leader, both in the business world as an entrepreneur, as well as in the modeling world. And I help others feel less alone and more connected. And so I'm specifically doing that right now with Authentic Asian. We've been around for about a year now, and we have over 250 amazing Asian American female leaders breaking the ceiling and uplifting each other. So those of you who know me and my personal brand, I don't often get involved in politics, but when I found out that Kamala was running, I just felt like I had to somehow give back, and I had to somehow get the word out about this, because this is such a big deal for the women of color community and specifically the Asian American female community. So I prepared this little story and this little speech that will hopefully help inspire others today. So as a little Asian American mixed race girl, I didn't have many women who looked like me as leaders or in the media. The celebrities who I saw who looked the most like me was actually the Yellow Power Ranger, who was just a small actress in the background. As a little girl of color, when you don't see many people in leadership roles or in the media who look like you, it's difficult to strive for those roles, to believe what is possible for when you grow up. As we grow older, the idea of breaking the ceiling seems often out of reach or impossible because there's so few of us, whether in Hollywood, as an entrepreneur, in the corporate world, or even politics. If you had told that little 10-year-old girl that not only a woman, but a half Asian woman, just like herself, would be running for president when she was older, running for president where she actually had a very good chance of winning, that little 10-year-old girl wouldn't have believed it was possible. We're here today with hundreds of people on this call to make this very good chance of Kamala winning a reality. Not just for my wishful, hopeful 10-year-old self, but for the tens of millions of little girls of color out there. To tell them, yes, they can. They have the ability to be someone, anything they want, if they just put their mind to it. Kamala is a testament of that. For every dollar you donate today, you are giving that next generation of little girls of color hope, power, that stamina to believe, so that we have more Kamalas in this world, striving, persevering, and gaining the confidence they need to succeed and give back. Today, my 10-year-old self thanks each and every one of you for making this dream a reality and helping to empower this next generation. Thank you.
Financial inequality. Tori Dunlap, best-selling author and podcast host, saved $100,000 by the age of 25 and then founded her first $100,000 to empower women to take control of their financial futures. Her impact has reached millions through her work, including the popular Financial Feminist podcast and Treasury and investing education platform. She's been featured on major media outlets, I should say, and she is a passionate advocate for financial empowerment. Please join me in welcoming Tori Dunlap.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I literally just hopped on and I'm already crying somehow. So I wouldn't be speaking in front of you if Donald Trump hadn't gotten elected. In 2016, I was 22 years old. I had graduated from the University of Portland in May, and I had returned to my childhood home in Tacoma, Washington. After finding a job in Seattle in marketing, I had visions, like many recent graduates, of climbing the corporate ladder. I was going to stomp the pavement in downtown Seattle, clutching a coffee in one hand and adjusting a pencil skirt with the other. And this is how I know it's a fantasy, as I've never worn a pencil skirt in my goddamn life. But soon, the rose-colored glasses came off. I was realizing that I was a youngest manager at an incredibly sexist company. I was having weird sexual comments said to me by managers at work. And I was watching my friends of color get passed over for opportunity after opportunity. And when I awoke one morning in November, expecting to come into adulthood, really into womanhood, with our first female president in the United States history, instead, we were left with orange. It felt like the most important event to have happened in our lifetime, our first female president, until it wasn't. As I continued to navigate life and career as a 20-something woman, I began to realize something. Everything changes when women have money. When women have money, they have options. The option to leave unsafe jobs or relationships, to put themselves in environments that respect them. The option to make decisions about their own bodies. The option to donate to causes they believe in, to travel, to start businesses. I had this feeling firsthand. And let me tell you, I have never, ever felt more powerful. I could be the best, baddest, fullest version of myself because I wasn't dependent on anyone except myself. And that is the feeling I want for every single woman on this planet. So, radicalized by the election of Donald Trump, I founded Her First 100K, a financial education platform for women to fight financial inequality, to give women actionable resources to better their money. And after years of growing the company on the side of my 9-to-5 job, in 2019, late 2019, it began to be my full-time work. Since then, we have helped 5 million women save money, pay off debt, invest, negotiate their salaries, and start businesses. We started a podcast called Financial Feminist, which is the #1 money podcast for women in the world. And I wrote a New York Times bestselling book, also called Financial Feminist. We've helped women like Danielle, who could not leave her abusive spouse because she did not have enough money, become an entrepreneur, earn 6 figures in her first year, and escape the violence of home with her daughter. We've helped Trisha, a woman of color who negotiated double her original salary, paid off her student loans, and now can afford to support her mother with Parkinson's disease. And Ellie, who is 18 and homeless, but after finding our work, had enough saved to put a security deposit down on an apartment, eat 3 meals a day, and get a college degree. We have a team of 15 women who work at Her First 100K, headquartered in Seattle, where I'm proud to offer an unlimited time off policy, a 4-month paid family leave policy, and a week off every quarter for every employee, where our company pauses so that our team members can rest and take time off with their families. There's a reason my book and podcast are called Financial Feminist. Every financial issue is a feminist one, and every feminist issue is a financial one. Oh, I'm going to cry. I'm trying to get through this without crying, y'all. Okay. This upcoming election is paramount for women's rights. This upcoming election is paramount for women's safety. And this upcoming election is paramount for women's finances. It is not just about who we elect to be president. It is about who we elect down the ballot, and it's about the policies we enact at the local level to make an impact on our daily lives. And more than ever, it is about advocating for the rights of not just Americans, but women all over the world, including in places where women are under attack, like in Gaza. I'm proud to live in a state that is leading by example with the highest minimum wage in the country, the protection of abortion access, and a 12-week paid family leave policy. And yet there is so much more on the line for women and their rights across the country. I started and ended my book, Financial Feminist, with a quote. When you have all you need, build a longer table, not a higher fence. When I talk to women in our community, this is the opportunity they want: to be well taken care of, to be safe, to be whole, so they can work to change the system for themselves and for everyone around them. Thank you all today for your time, your care, and support. The fight is far from over, and I'm honored to work alongside you all. We have less than 50 days until November, until the election, and I am with you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tori. We're meeting women today who have faced adversity and are still standing strong. And what's so inspiring is how all of you are fighting for all of us. And we hope their stories will inspire you. But the thing is, we need allies. And joining us today is someone who has dedicated his career to public service and leadership. Ned Lamont was sworn in as the 89th governor of Connecticut in 2019 and began his second term earlier this year. His commitment to serving communities started shortly after college when he founded a weekly newspaper in a town impacted by significant job losses, helping to bring transparency and a voice to local government. As a member of both the Greenwich Board of Selectmen and the Board of Estimate and Taxation, he worked in a bipartisan effort to manage a multi-million-dollar budget and deliver results for his constituents. He also served as chairman of the State Investment Advisory Council, overseeing a multi-billion-dollar state pension fund. We are honored to have him with us today. Please welcome Governor Ned Lamont.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you. You may say, a guy who started up a weekly newspaper in Vermont, what does he have to do with tech? But my wife is a fintech investor. My daughter is a crypto entrepreneur, and I started up a telecommunications business before my current gig as a governor. I'll just tell you that in my advanced years, I look over history and I see that there are some decades where nothing happens and some years where everything happens. And you think of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance as a Broadway. I'd say politically, the last 4 months and the next 50 days politically is sea change has happened and how important that is. I think the same is true right now when it comes to tech. I think this is an incredibly important time. If you're a young person, I go around the state of Connecticut, say this is the place you want to be. I mean, I studied French and Latin. That was okay, but I think coding is incredibly important. We're making that, mandatory in our schools. We're providing workforce training, doing everything we can to give people the skills they need. It's not just women in tech. We have the highest labor participation rate in the country, letting people know this is what you can do, but also going to some of our poorest communities and say, this is a job for you. This is a job that you can do. And as you heard from Tori, I think it was, we're trying to make it easier to get back to the workforce, free workforce training, especially in those tech skills, paid family and medical leave, advanced daycare and childcare, make it easier for people to do this. And it's a lifestyle where people can take advantage of it as well. I would tell you, this is something I think that Kamala Harris really understands. I've gotten to know her a little bit over the years in terms of creating the environment and the infrastructure in the world where everybody can succeed to their highest opportunity. I don't know what Donald Trump knows about tech. I think he likes Twitter because Elon Musk gives him a lot of money, and I guess he likes crypto because they give him a lot of money. I think Kamala and my friend Tim Waltz really want to create an ecosystem that is an opportunity for everybody, regardless of background, race, color, and creed. Make this an opportunity society. That's what Kamala likes to talk about. That's what she means. less of a focus on the big business and more of a focus on small businesses, entrepreneurs right in your hometown, allowing you to do this. And fortunately, tech often has lower barriers to entry, easier for you to start up a business. We have started up more new businesses in Connecticut the last 3 years than ever before in our history. And most of them are women and minority-owned companies, many of them in tech. And I'll leave just one other thought as I talk to the young people. You don't have to go to Silicon Valley for tech. We have insurance. You think that's a bunch of guys in gray eye shades, but it's not. That is tech, as we use artificial intelligence to allocate risk when it comes to property insurance and the such. Tech when it comes to AI and the life sciences in the greater New Haven area. Advanced manufacturing, you wouldn't believe manufacturing. That is all computers and robots these days. And my job is to make this real for young people so they see this is something they want to do. And this is something that Kamala understands. A lot of races are sort of an echo, not a choice, but an echo. This is a choice. This is the biggest fundamental choice I've seen in politics in my 70 years. This country can go one of two directions when it comes to opportunity for all of our citizens. So tell your friends, especially if you have friends in Pennsylvania and Georgia and Michigan, tell them that get off the sofa, get to work. We really need them for the next 50 days. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Governor Lamont. I want to I want to share that our next speaker has been at the forefront of some of the most significant technology-driven transformations of our time. Kirthika Reddy is an entrepreneur, an investor, a board director who believes in the powerful mantra of when businesses succeed, livelihoods flourish. As the first employee of Meta in India, Kirthika served as managing director for Facebook India and South Asia for over 6 years. She was also the first female investment partner at SoftBank Investment Advisors, where she led billion-dollar investments and supported underrepresented founders. And today, she is the CEO of Virtualness, a cutting-edge startup in generative AI and Web3, and co-founder of Liftery, a social impact initiative for working women. Her leadership and influence extend to Syracuse University's Board of Trustees and Stanford Business School's Management Board. Please join me in welcoming the dynamic and visionary Kirthika Reddy.
It is such a joy to be here, and I am emotional listening to all of the different stories and just the power represented in this room. I want to take us all back to the time where we were listening to the results of the 2016 elections, and we all went in there thinking that we were going to toast the first female president of the United States of America, and we saw the polls changing, and we were left with, as some other speakers said, orange. What was that moment? What was that emotion? I would love for people to just put that in the chat. What was that emotion that you felt? For me, my heart sank, says Shannon, devastated, horror, numb. I had this pit in my stomach, and everyone on this call, we just can't let this happen again. And we all have the power, the voice, the dollars to make that change. And I am so thankful for everyone on this call and for all of the actions we are going to take to get people to vote, to share that sentiment and make sure we leave no stone unturned. People are talking about, I actually, again, walked outside crying. I vividly remember exactly what I was, who I was with, what I was wearing. And it's that pit and that's my stomach feeling that I do not want again. I came to this country with wide-eyed wonder to do my master's in engineering at Syracuse University, upstate New York. A special call out to all of those calling in from that part of the country. My father took a personal loan to cover the cost of my first semester. Beyond that, I had to figure it out. I was the first person in my family to come abroad. I was the first engineer in my family. My mother did not have the opportunity to finish her high school education because her parents said, you only need enough math to do the grocery bill. Fast forward to today, just sticking to the Syracuse example, I've had the opportunity to serve on the Dean's Leadership Council for over 7 years, guide the school's response to the historic investment in the region from the $52 billion Federal Chips and Science Act that was led by Kamala Harris as the country seeks to regain critical semiconductor leadership. I've had the opportunity to establish the Kirtika Reddy Scholarship for the graduate school, and I'm joining the Board of Trustees this year. When Kamala Harris talks about fighting for a future where we build the opportunity economy so that every American has the opportunity to own a home, start a business, to build wealth, intergenerational wealth, I deeply resonate with every single word. I am using my voice, my vote, my dollars for a government and a leader who believes in the middle class, who believes in small businesses, who believes in the innovation economy and in investing in technology, science, climate. At a personal level, I have two beautiful girls. Both my girls were with the help of IVF technology, and I am deeply grateful for the power of technology, for the gift of motherhood, one of the biggest gifts in my life. Before that, I conceived naturally, and I had to undergo an abortion for medical reasons. I still have the gut-wrenching emotion from that experience. And to think about today in 2024, we have women who are denied those rights, who are denied the ability to decide aspects about their own body, about who they live with, who they love. It is just wrong, and we cannot go back. We just cannot go back. I think the country is ready, and we all need to do everything we can to get a woman president in power. I vividly remember examples of mentors and leaders who were so meaningful to me in my journey as I think about the picture of my mother, who is wiser and more amazing than I will ever be, and the opportunities that were denied to her. And the role models I had with women like Padma Shri Warrior, who was a chief technology officer of Motorola, Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook, who deeply invested in me. And I so joyful as I think about a woman president and all of the opportunities that she will unlock as she represents the power of what's possible. I'm using my voice, my vote, my dollars to vote for women's right, for the opportunity economy, for sensible immigration laws, for gun control, and I hope you will all get and do it too. I now live in Nevada. My vote counts even more. For everyone in the swing states and all of you working in swing states, a special thank you. I can't wait to be with all of you on January 20th at the inauguration ceremony, toasting to our first female president of the United States of America.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kirtija. I think it's time for us to check back in with Fiona and see how we're doing on fundraising. How are you doing, Fiona?
Hey, Jen. Thank you so much. You all are incredible. I am blown away. On this call, we have raised $17,000 with our match. That puts us so close to $40,000. So I am hoping that in the next, let's call it 20 minutes, we can get some big spenders in. And I want to tell a quick story because this is what kind of drove me to take that extra leap and think about what would really make an impact from my perspective in donating to the Harris Victory Fund, which, as we've mentioned, not only supports Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, but it supports Democrats all the way up and down the ballot. I started my career in technology a little over 10 years ago. There's actually some amazing women on this call that were my first mentors and bosses in my first technology job. I had been working in customer service and sports and events, and I was not making anything. And when I got that first technology job, okay, I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry. When I got that first technology job, I remember my first paycheck. I wish I had framed it, but my first paycheck for my first 2 weeks of work in that company was $1,280. So I've contributed $1,280 to the Women in Tech for Harris donation campaign because that is a significant number to me, and it means something to my career in tech. The other thing that it means is I am really lucky because as I've continued over a decade in this industry, those numbers have only gone up. And with that privilege, I have been able to continue to thrive and live the life that I wanted to build for myself. And so I would love for all of you to just take a moment or two, think about a number that's significant in your career. Is it the first share of stock that you ever got to sell, whether that was for $2.29 or $229? Was it the first time you got to buy an amazing pair of shoes for a business meeting? What is that number that is significant to you? What is something meaningful that you can really say, this is my skin in the game? Take a moment, think about that number, grab the donation link, and let's keep rolling through our fundraising. But I want to talk about one other thing when it comes to skin in the game. I have lived in Georgia for the last 20 years. And let me tell you, politically, it has been a wild ride. We have had insane governors. We've had amazing governors. We've had amazing mayors. We've had crazy mayors. We have shown up so strongly for President Obama, for example, and we have kind of missed the mark in a couple of elections. And so if maybe donating isn't the route that you want to go, I would love to see as many people from this call as possible get involved with voter mobilization. We have an amazing speaker, Nora, who's going to come on in just a few minutes, but voter mobilization is kind of the turn that we're all taking for the rest of this campaign. Fundraising is critical. It helps support voter mobilization. We are going to knock it out of the park on today's call, and then we all need to move our minds towards voter mobilization. So what does that look like? And what do you do if you don't live in a state like I do in Georgia, where I can just go knock on my neighbors' doors, make sure they're registered to vote, let them know that I'm choosing Kamala Harris, and go from there? Well, there are amazing organizations set up across the country, whether they are campaign offices in all of our swing states, whether they are organizations like mobilize.us, which Nora is going to talk about some more, whether it's Vote Forward, which is letter writing. You can get involved wherever you are, even if you're overseas. So please think about how else you can put some skin in the game in the next 40 days in order to make sure that not only are we excited about Kamala Harris, not only are we talking to our friends about Kamala Harris, not only are we making sure that we are voting blue up and down the ballot, but we are also bringing our neighbors, our friends, our fellow citizens in other states with us to the polls. The numbers are there for us to win if we mobilize every voter who leans towards Democrat, who leans towards Kamala Harris, who leans towards gun safety, who leans towards women's rights. If we can get every single one of those people to the polls, we will win. All right, with that, a very quick numbers update. I promise I won't cry. We are, like, while I was talking, money was coming in, so I just want to freshen up. We have raised, you guys, we need $2,000 more, and we will clear that $20,000 mark, which means $40,000 total with our match. Y'all are amazing. Keep it up, and I will hand it back to Jen.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you so much for that awesome update. And thank you for sharing your why and your story with us. We've got just a little bit more to go before we're able to really maximize that match. And our final speaker today is going to hopefully help us get there. She is a leader who is really amazing, extraordinary at harnessing the power of technology to drive political change. I'm so excited to introduce you all to Nora Levinson. Nora is the CEO of Tech for Campaigns, and this is a nonprofit that leverages advanced digital marketing and data techniques to combat extremism and to help Democrats win elections. So with 17 years of experience as a tech entrepreneur and executive, Nora has successfully led and scaled companies across sectors like consumer hardware, digital health, and climate tech. She's raised over $80 million for her ventures and achieved several successful exits. Now, in addition to her professional accomplishments, Nora served as board chair for New Destiny Housing, working to secure housing for survivors of domestic violence. She holds a BS and MS from Stanford University. Please join me in welcoming Nora Levinson.
Awesome. Really appreciate the lovely introduction. It's great to see all of you here, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. So, as that great introduction, said about me, I'm coming from a background as an engineer, an entrepreneur, and a nonprofit board member. And I joined as CEO of Tech for Campaigns earlier this year because to me, this was the most important thing I could be doing with my time. Tech for Campaigns as an organization has been around since 2017. It was founded by tech entrepreneurs who wanted to use their digital marketing and data skill sets to fight the extremism that they were seeing in our country and in our politics and help Democrats to win at scale, both at the state and the national level. So for me, that was something that was really inspiring and, a torch that I wanted to continue carrying on for this election cycle. And in particular, it's become even more important and relevant now that we have Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. And that's driving such enthusiasm and such potential opportunity for us at the top and all the way down ballot. So, so far, we've heard a lot of really inspiring stories from people about what are their whys and what's at stake for all of us this election season. What will happen if we win, and what are some of the potential consequences if we don't. That chilling story about Trump serving up journalists on a platter to foreign governments, from an earlier speaker, that was really chilling to me. So there are real consequences, but it can be a little bit overwhelming, I think, for people to think about what can I actually do as an individual person to make an impact. So what I want to talk about and spend a little bit of my time talking about is what are the next steps that we can take specifically as individuals and as a community that are motivated to win this year. So, the first most obvious thing is voting and mobilizing others to vote. So that was a great lead-in introduction talking about the importance of voter mobilization. I think coming from a tech and data background, let's look at the numbers. 2020 was the highest turnout ever in an election, and still a third of eligible voters did not vote. So if you look at things being pretty deadlocked and even from both sides, the real opportunity to make a difference and impact is to get those folks who are not engaging to engage in the political process and show up. So there's a lot of talk about undecided voters, or I don't agree with this candidate or this policy, and what's necessary to persuade them. But the reality is, if you actually look at all of the polls and the information that looks at people who are registered to vote but didn't turn up, the majority of people say it's for reasons of barriers to access. So they couldn't take time off work. They, couldn't get childcare. That's obviously a major issue for a lot of women. They're caregiving for others. They were ill. They might have a disability that prevented them from gaining access. So these are all really, couldn't get transportation. So these are all things that impact the end results and don't involve having to convince somebody of something. It's just about making it easier for them. So at Tech for Campaigns, our biggest program is all about using digital marketing and data to sign up Democrats to vote by mail and vote early. So if you make it super easy to vote, you address those concerns about access and convenience. The way that we do that is we use the same digital marketing that you would use to sell someone shoes online or a Netflix subscription. And we use that to sell vote by mail and get people signed up. So since 2020, we've signed up over 500,000 voters in key swing states to vote by mail and vote early. And this year, we're running the program super efficiently in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona, all the states that you would think of when thinking about the importance of the path to victory. So that's our approach, which is digital and tech. But you can also get involved in other ways as well. So, if you want to support a program like ours, of course, I would always welcome that. But you could also show up and knock on doors. You can help with, protection at polling locations, make sure that, people aren't being intimidated. You can write letters. Vote Forward's a great organization. We're talking about that. You can sign up on mobilize.us for other different ways that you can, find to get involved in different states. So if we think about this as how do we just get more people to vote and get their voices heard, there are a million different ways that you can get involved, whether that's by funding it, through the Harris Victory Fund directly, through an organization like ours, where we're signing people up at like $20 per sign up. So that's a really great, efficient way to think about using money, or by volunteering your time and getting out there in your community. So that's really important. And I know we've been talking a lot about donations. So that brings me to my second point, which is donating. People don't like being asked for money, and we don't like asking people for money either, right? It's kind of an awkward conversation. But with the way that our political system works, donors and dollars do unfortunately have big influence. It funds what the campaigns need to do to win. And so therefore, they listen to the people who are helping them fund. But this is a statistic that really stuck out to us, as a women-led organization. This election cycle, men have given more than 2/3 of the political dollars to all candidates. That's almost 70%. So if we're looking at who's funding and whose voice is being heard in the political landscape, right now it is overwhelmingly men. And this is even more unbalanced than prior election years. So it's not getting better, it's trending in the opposite direction. So this is something that we are super focused on at Tech for Campaigns, and wanting to partner with organizations like Women in Tech for Harris and groups and communities like Women in Tech for Harris to get the word out that political donations are super important as a way to make your voice heard. So we're not just leaving all of this influence to the men. So for example, we are going to be running a program called Change the Ratio. It'll be a initiative that will run in 2 weeks from now, where we're focusing on getting women donors out and matching donations from other women in our community. So if anybody's interested in getting involved in that, you should send me an email. I'll drop my email in the chat, and would love to have more folks involved. But that being said, we are here today for a very specific fundraising campaign and goal. We are really looking at trying to get across the line, take advantage of that great match that Women in Tech for Harris campaign organization and group of community and volunteers has secured. So before we close out today, we definitely want to make sure that not just for my organization that I'm pitching for the future, but we get across that $20,000 threshold that they're really targeting. And then, the third way that I wanted to bring up to get involved, number one is voter mobilization. Number two is donating and making your voice heard. And number three is really about community. So look at what this community has come together and done as volunteers, over the past weeks, right? And how many people are on this call, how much money we're able to raise. This is all really inspiring. It not only increases our impact, but it brings a sense of belonging and motivation to keep going, because this is a long game. It's not just about this month until the election. It's about building that community of women, of people who are aligned to create impact over time. And that multiplies our effort when we're volunteering, that multiplies our efforts when we're donating. And that's also something really important for us all to think about. Being in community and building community is something that makes this work sustainable over time. So On that note, I'll pitch my last couple of things is that if you happen to be in New York, we're actually having an in-person event this evening with former Minnesota Senator Al Franken speaking and the former minority leader of the Michigan State House of Representatives, Donna Lisinski. Would love to have folks come out if you're interested. And we also have another online call next week with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, where we'll be talking about tech and politics together. But first things first, let's meet the goal that we've set as this community here together today, and try and take advantage of that and build momentum in the future. So let me drop in the chat all of my little plugs that I just made, but would really love to stay in touch with more folks about this work that we're doing, and really appreciate everybody showing up today and making your voices heard.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you so much. It's been so interesting learning what the power that women can have in this election and in our elections. And as we're getting toward the end of our program, and we're getting those last few donations that are coming in, which we appreciate so much, I want to kind of call back to Alina Vandenberg, who was, people have asked me, Jen, how did you get involved? Like, how did I get involved in women in tech for Harris? And it was because I saw Alina post a message. She posted a message on LinkedIn saying, I'm ready to do something. Does anyone else want to do something? So Alina, here we are doing something. I want to get a little bit of your feedback. How are we doing? What's your impression? Is this what you were dreaming of?
I've been watching what you all put together in the past couple of weeks, and in such a short period of time, and I'm beyond moved. Obviously, Jen and Anne, and we've been in touch, and Leslie, we've been in touch for all this period of time, and Ari and Chelsea and Sarah and Nicole and Lauren. It was like an unbelievable, beautiful to watch. And I believe that this activation happened because this election is very important for all of us. And I'm reading all your comments in the stories in the comments, and it's beyond inspiring on what has moved every single one of you that have joined this call to be here, and your commitment to help.
I think it's interesting. It takes sometimes it takes one strong voice that's backed by so many other amazing women, amazing voices to lift each other up. And what I think I appreciate most about this effort is that sometimes as a woman in tech, it's hard to kind of grab the microphone. It's hard to have your voice be heard. And so what I appreciate about what this group has been able to do is we decided we're just going to make the platform ourselves, right? We're going to set that microphone up for us and make sure that our voices are heard, because now is the time. There's never been a more critical time to make your voice heard than this election. I am really thrilled. This is like a last minute change to our programming here, that we are really honored to have Joe Miller. I think Joe is maybe backstage, coming on stage. There we go. Representative Joe Miller joining us from Ohio. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you here in our corner.
Glad to be here. Thank you again for the opportunity to be a part of this. This is amazing. I'm just overwhelmed by the panel. And yes, Elena, I was trying to keep a dry eye. It's not easy, but it resonates what you had to say. So thanks again for, I guess, bringing me on. I didn't expect that today, to be honest with you. I've just been here listening to all the panels and hearing about the different leaders in AI, and I just happen to have a piece of background on that bill is House Bill 410. It's about stopping deep fakes in elections. And after watching and hearing about how they use Joe Biden's voice to kind of trick voters and constituents, it is imperative that we keep elections fair and just and transparent, and making sure that voters have correct information to make very crucial decisions. We learned from 16 to 2020 what happens when voters are bamboozled, when they are misled, when they are given poor information about what kind of candidates they're electing. And we saw to our detriment what that did. And I think it's time to make sure that we support AI and its tools, but we put guardrails in place to stop those type of nefarious actions. And they're only going to get worse as the technology gets better. So thank you again for having me, and good to see all this support for Harrison Walls. I was happy to cast a vote at the DNC as an Ohio delegate and as a state representative. So thank you again.
Well, we're glad. Thanks for rolling with us. We're glad you were able to hop on and share a little bit of your support. We need allies. We need allies in our elected officials. We need allies on the ground in our community. I want to pass it over one more time to Fiona to give us a bit of a fundraising update as we're closing out here.
Yes, absolutely. Once again, I am just absolutely blown away by the generosity, the opening up of the wallets that you all have shown here today. We are just, to be honest, I keep refreshing the page because money's just trickling in a little by little. I think by the time we're all said and done here, we will have raised $20,000 on this call, plus our match of another $20,000, making it $40,000 right here on this call. But I want to talk about the bigger picture for just a moment, because the folks in this organization, everyone in Women in Tech for Harris, has been reaching out to friends, family, colleagues, people that they may have worked with 10 or 15 years ago, and asking for donations for the last 6 weeks. All together, we are clearing $120,000 in total impact on the campaign. None of us really knew what we were doing when we started this. I didn't know anything about political fundraising until I got into this organization with Alina and Leslie and everybody else. And for us to have raised over $120,000, including our matching funds, in the last 5 or 6 weeks is just absolutely incredible. So please keep the donations coming in. Anything that comes in today before sort of close of business will receive that match. Please feel free to share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues, anybody you know who might have $5, $10, $50 that they want to contribute. It's just womenintechforharris.com/donate-now. I know it's a little complicated, but it is at the top of our chat. Copy and paste it, drop it in an email to everyone you know, so that we can really maximize this amazing match donation that we have. The last thing I was going to mention is, if you don't get a donation in today, we will be sending out follow-up emails with lots of great information, including that donation link. So thank you all so much for your contributions. This is just absolutely incredible for grassroots fundraising to raise almost $120,000 in just a few short weeks. And with that, I will send it back to Jen to just wrap it out.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you so much. And as we're coming to the close of today's event, I just want to thank everyone here. I know time is precious. Time is sometimes our most valuable currency. And so thank you for joining us, and thank you for being part of this incredible journey. Your presence, your financial contributions, your words, they're vital to the success of our mission. But the thing is, the work, it doesn't stop here. This is just the beginning. We have the power to make a lasting impact, and we need every one of you. We need all of us to stay engaged and to take action. So I think we're going to pop it on the screen. You should see a list of recommended action items. These are simple but powerful ways that you can get involved, from sharing our message with your network to making that kind of contribution. And if you're interested, we are also offering a follow-up option for career coaching among women in tech. So be sure to keep an eye on your email to participate. I just want to remind you, we are not a formal organization. This is a group. This is a coalition of women in technology who have gotten together because we want our voice to be heard. And even in doing that, we're eager to give back to each other because we understand that we are stronger together as we lift each other up. So before we completely wrap up, I want to encourage you, follow us on social media. That'll help you stay updated on any future events, local events we're doing, initiatives, other ways to contribute. We're trying to build a community that makes a difference, and we want to continue this journey with you. We also don't want to reinvent the wheel. So we're going to be lifting up other voices from Women for Harris, from the Human Rights Campaign, from local groups in critical swing states like my home state of Arizona. So sign up with us at womenintechforharris.com. That way we'll share where we're going to be and how we're going to continue to activate ourselves. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your support and for the work we're going to do together moving forward.